Sonic was going to be a voice-to-voice model, my mind immediately went to call center. That's an area of technology that's been lacking recently, and just being able to bring generative AI and the power of voice-to-voice models to the call center technology stack, we saw an immense opportunity there. Well, here with Sonic, it's very conversational. You can talk to it like what we're talking with to each other. You can interrupt it. You can ask it a different question. You can ask it to repeat things, and it just picks right up on what you're trying to ask. It's very human-like in terms of the interaction. Sonic supports 5 different languages today. I'm sure Amazon will be adding to that. And within those languages, there's 11 different voices between male and female across different dialects. So it's really powerful. Traditionally, Amazon Connect has had the ability to use services like Amazon Lex and Amazon Polly in order to create interactive experiences. And those services on their own are AI powered, but they're not generative AI powered like what Sonic is.
Tim, thanks for meeting with me today.
Absolutely.
Excited to talk a little bit about Novasonic. I think probably the best place to start is I'd love to hear about what you think inspired Zeb to develop a fully integrated virtual agent powered by Amazon Novasonic.
Yeah, well, the idea first came to us at reInvent last year when Andy Jassy announced that Novasonic was going to be a voice-to-voice model, and my mind immediately went to call center. That's an area of technology that's been lacking recently, and just being able to bring generative AI and the power of voice-to-voice models to the call center technology stack, we saw an immense opportunity there.
Awesome. Totally agree. I think it's going to be an absolute game changer. I guess, could you explain to me in kind of your own words, what makes this solution an absolute game changer from a voice AI perspective?
Yeah, traditionally, Amazon Connect has had the ability to use services like Amazon Lex and Amazon Polly in order to create interactive experiences. And those services on their own are AI powered, but they're not generative AI powered like what Novasonic is. Traditionally, you would have to set up your intent through Amazon Lex. You could call out to Lambda functions and then get information back that's then spoken in voice to the caller via Polly. Which is really cool at the time. But that technology came out many years ago, and there hasn't been that next evolutionary step in this space since then. And now we're faced with this. This is amazing technology, and it really does revolutionize what's been done before. So it's worth another look.
That kind of leads me to my next question. You brought up Lex and Polly. Why do you think it was so important to move away from those Amazon offered services?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, and I'm not trying to knock those services, but at the time they were great. Yeah. It represented being able to take actions within a call flow, represented an opportunity to use AI to recognize an intent. But like if you call up to, I don't know, a shipping company, for example, and you're like, I need to know my order status, or I need to mail a package, or I need to check the price of postage for this. You have to clearly define those intents up front, and then callers would have to determine which path they wanted to take. It wasn't a free form conversation. It was very step by step in a workflow that the caller had to follow. Well, here with Sonic, it's very conversational. You can talk to it like what we're talking with to each other. You can interrupt it. You can ask it a different question. You can ask it to repeat things, and it just picks right up on what you're trying to ask. It's very human-like in terms of the interaction model.
Yeah, and I know that we did that demo yesterday, and you were interrupting it, you were pausing it, you were asking it different questions, kind of going in different directions, and it picked up and handled those perfectly.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm going to double down on that. So yesterday we were having fun with Novasonic while we were in Amazon office here, and we have one of our coworkers, Gustavo, start to speak to it in Spanish, and Novasonic immediately recognized that and started replying in Spanish. Novasonic supports 5 different languages today. I'm sure Amazon will be adding to that. And within those languages, there's 11 different voices between male and female across different dialects. So it's really powerful in terms of being able to adapt to where a user's at.
Yeah, I agree. I think the audience, when we did that demo, they were a little taken back.
It was really cool to see it just shift like that.
Yeah, totally agree. How do you see kind of Sonic differentiate itself from other voice models that are available on the market?
Yeah, what's really cool about Novasonic is it fully supports MCP today. We'll talk more about that in just a minute, but it has the ability to take action. And the whole Amazon Nova family of models is really powerful in terms of tooling support and being able to observe what the model's thinking and doing. Novasonic really is kind of the standard right now for voice-to-voice models. I know that you can make the argument that there's other models that may be better in certain situations for text-based generation, but Sonic seems to be leading the charge with voice.
Yep. Totally agree. What do you think are some key advantages that Sonic offers in terms of real-time customer interactions? And I know that we just kind of talked about the demo that we did yesterday, but you want to elaborate on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, it has the ability to understand conversationally what someone is asking it. So for example, in the demo we walked through yesterday, and I can provide a recording to that demo, we had a virtual bank where a user could call up, ask their account balances, ask questions about a particular transaction, ask about their auto loan, and the system would be like, okay, we noticed that you just made your last loan payment. Let us know if you're interested in a new vehicle. Is there anything else I can help you with? And I'm like, I want to remodel my bathroom. What are my funding options? And it's like, oh, our records show that you're pre-approved for a home equity line of credit at 6.99%. Like, you don't have to follow a flow. You can just freely bounce between requests.
Yep.
And it really is a game-changing experience from that aspect.
Cool. Can you walk us through how Zeb integrates with Amazon Connect and Novasonic, and kind of what's involved with that process?
Yeah. So essentially, we are emulating a human agent. So anything that the human agents can do within Amazon Connect's contact center, Novasonic can do. So it can transfer calls, it can answer calls, it can put calls on hold if it needs to. We are literally emulating the human agent and just plugging in Sonic's voice-to-voice capabilities instead of the human.
Yep. Now, I know you touched on MCP earlier. I'd love to hear a bit more about MCP orchestration and kind of the virtual agent's capabilities from that perspective.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, MCP stands for the Model Context Protocol, and it's a way of allowing a large language model like Novasonic to become aware of a tool, to request information from a tool or request an action from a tool, and it gets a response back that can then use within its conversational context. The power here is that we can actually have Sonic do actual actions like look up an order status, look up a bank account balance, validate a user, take a payment, and interact with the source systems that process these. For example, we could integrate with Stripe for processing payments. We can interact with CRM systems, with support desk systems if you're trying to file a request into like a ServiceNow or a Zendesk.
Yep.
That's the power of MCP, and Sonic supports it natively.
Love it. And obviously we offer all those capabilities to integrate with all those different systems, which is amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're really pushing Agent Core as well, which was a release that Amazon pushed into public preview at the New York Summit a couple weeks ago. Basically, Agent Core creates an MCP server gateway that we can then tie to Lambda functions or containers for longer running functions and allow Sonic to call those tools. And what's important to realize too is that when you call a tool, there always is some kind of a delay. And that's no different than with a human. If you're on the phone with a caller and you have to look up an order status, there's something that you have to do in order to look that up. It's all about the user experience. So what we do is in our prompt engineering with Sonic, we tell it, if you're going to use a tool, tell the user what you're going to do. So it naturally says, please stand by while I look up this order for you, or please stand by while I process your payment. That way the user experience is still on par with talking to a human.
Yeah. And I'd anticipate that even when I call my bank and they say, oh, could you hold on 1 second? I've got to look up X, Y, and Z. Kind of the AI capabilities there are going to do that much faster than calling customer service representative that has to do that manually.
Yep, you got it.
So Tim, obviously, recently we were presenting to the financial services industry for some folks, and we talked about some real life use cases from an Amazon Connect and Sonic perspective. It doesn't necessarily have to be financial services, but could you talk us through some of the real life use cases that we have for Connect and Sonic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll recap what we have in financial services, then I'll explore this to expand this to other industries. But within financial services, we demoed a bank-based demo where someone could call in, asking information about their accounts, their loans, that sort of thing. You can also start to apply this to insurance.
Yep.
Start to think of like you just got in an accident and you need to call up the system. Sonic can be empathetic towards the user while gathering the information that's needed. It can express emotion. Sonic's capability is applied to all industries. If you're in the healthcare space, for example, you can use it for patient scheduling, prescription refills, that sort of thing. You can use it for requesting outpatient care, answering basic health questions like a healthcare screener. Obviously, we don't want AI to provide medical advice other than please see your healthcare professional, but it can start to understand symptoms and do the intake. Hospitality, scheduling a hotel room, scheduling a flight, logistics, supply chain, asking about order status or how much something costs to ship from point A to point B. Like, the unique thing about this integration in this technology stack is that it literally applies to any industry where you have a customer service hotline, and it's not relegated to the top industries in the ecosystem. It literally touches every business.
Yeah. And I know that you touched on healthcare. We touched on hospitality. We touched on financial services. Is there any other industries outside of that you think that might be kind of pertinent to share?
Maybe like the restaurant businesses, ordering food.
Yeah.
I don't know, John, what would you say?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know that we've kind of got that unique use case for the customer that we're working with up in Boston, and they're using it to schedule appointments for field technicians to come out and kind of survey your home, right? And it seems like it really can be applied to anything, because that's really a niche use case you don't see too much of. So I feel like it can be applied anywhere. Right?
Yeah. And that's what's awesome about this is how it does apply to literally anybody talking to the customer.
Yeah. Could you talk me through how it handles some of the more complex, you touched on healthcare recently. How does it handle those more complex workflows?
Yeah. So for example, let's assume that we are doing intake to schedule an appointment, right? The first thing it's going to ask you, especially post-COVID, do you have a fever? Do you have a cough? What are your symptoms? The first thing you need to be able to do is authenticate the caller. So you need to be able to match their information against an internal system. And that's where MCP servers come into play. So we can collect a name, a birthday, last word of a social, things of that nature. Whatever we need to do to match up with the healthcare management system, the EHR. MCP will call out to that system, return back, yep, this is the user we said it is. And then I can start to take those questions, all while protecting a user's data. All of this infrastructure, even our integration, runs within a customer's AWS account. So there's nothing that we are hosting. This is using pure Amazon native services. There's no external third-party services. Everything runs within your VPC, and it's controllable. And because of that, we can meet regulatory requirements like HIPAA, like PCI, and so on and so forth. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's super important, right? When you look at those particular industries,
absolutely,
have a lot of compliant environments. I know latency is a really big topic, right?
Sure.
Responsiveness is a really big topic. I think whenever I talk to customers, they're asking me, how does it do? I'd love to see a demo because that's our biggest concern. Can you talk to that piece?
Yeah, absolutely. Latency with Novasonic is very similar to like us having this conversation here. It can detect a pause and it will start to speak. If you cut it off, it'll stop speaking. It really is somewhat instantaneous. And I'm a fan of dad jokes. The joke here.
Oh no.
Why are jokes that Novasonic tells so effective? And it's because it's got ultra low latency, so its punchlines hit faster, right? I mean, that's so bad, but it's true. It's true. It really does feel like you're talking to a person.
Yeah.
And it feels natural in terms of latency. There's not the long pause. And I'll go down a segue here. If we're comparing it to the legacy technology stack of using Lex and Poly, a caller would make a request. It goes into, or translates from speech to text, goes into Lex, which determines the intent, which calls a Lambda function, which then has to return a result, which then has to go from text back to speech. And that whole process, even if you optimize your Lambda functions and everything else, that introduces latency just because of the number of hops it has to take.
Yeah.
Where Novasonic is natively understanding voice to voice, it doesn't have to do that translation back and forth. Although it can, like if you're calling out to a tool, it gets text back, but it immediately translates it into the Nova voice. The latency there is very minimal.
Wow. Impressive stuff. I know that we typically start engagements with customers and we start with, a POC, a proof of concept, or what we like to refer to as a proof of value to kind of establish the value for that customer so that they can see the real world expertise that Connect as well as Sonic offers. But can you talk to us a little bit about testing and validation from that perspective? What do we do?
Yeah, so I love this question. And because of the unique way that we're emulating a human agent and in our implementation, we retain all of Amazon's Connect native features. And where that becomes important is like, for example, we can turn on call recording. We can also pause it if we're collecting sensitive information and then resume it. But that also gives you contact lens support. And contact lens will, if you're not familiar in Amazon Connect, it's sentiment analysis of the conversation. You can use it with real live human agents, but it also applies here. So you can start to score your calls and see like how users are responding to AI. Are they yelling at the machine, or are they really happy with the experience? We'll be able to collect metrics out of that. In terms of testing and things of that nature during a POC, we really just create mock scripts. So we first understand the customer's use case. We understand how a call should flow. We always ask for good examples from a customer with a human agent if possible.
Real life data.
Yeah. And then we just do an A/B comparison with those in turn.
Yep. Totally agree. And I love starting POCs for customers because
Absolutely.
it delivers value for them, right? And
Yep.
you can see it firsthand. How do you see us handling some of the fallback scenarios or edge cases where AI might get stuck?
If AI gets stuck, it will know that it's stuck, actually. It'll say something like, I'm sorry, I don't understand your request, or I cannot process what you're asking me for. Would you like me to transfer you to a human agent? And that is absolutely a capability that we've also built into this integration. At any time, someone can ask to be transferred to a human, and it will honor that request.
I think when we did the demo, right, we saw that firsthand.
It might ask a question or two just so it knows what queue to put you in, like what department is this, customer support, is it billing, so on and so forth. But yes, we will get you to a human as quickly as possible.
Yep. Can you walk us through some of the custom use case development processes and what that looks like for our customers?
Yeah, again, we like to first understand what our customers are doing. We like to understand their business and the space that they operate in. And based on that, we tailor our approach. We like to do custom demos, not just industry specific demos. So if we know a customer's use case a couple days ahead of time, we can quickly fire up a demo, show them the capabilities, go into the proof of concept development. And from there, like I said, it's all about understanding the business requirements and working backwards, not so much the technical landscape, although that's important.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we're delivering business value and meeting their needs. And we love to showcase that as much as possible through the demos and through the POC process into production.
Yeah, I'm really proud of our Connect team. I've had 3 requests this week for customers asking for custom demos set up based on their use case, not necessarily just the industry. And they were able to turn those around really, really quickly, which is exciting. Tim, earlier you had talked about our colleague Gustavo calling the demo, which it was not prepared for, and speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
But I'd love if you could talk us through, so we understand that capability is there, but what about different tones, different languages, as well as vocabularies, brands, that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, like I said, Novasonic supports 5 different languages and 11 different voices across those languages in both male and female dialects. I'll admit, I was also blown away by that demo because I wasn't quite sure, because with Novasonic, you have to prompt it like any other AI large language model. And we didn't say anything about the language it was speaking. It just automatically detected that Gustavo was speaking to it in Spanish. It changed his voice, it changed his dialect, and the conversation proceeded according to the model's instructions, which was amazing. I was blown away by that fact as well. So kudos to the Novasonic team at Amazon for that. But where this gets interesting is when it comes to adapting to emotion and tone, you can actually tell the model if this needs to be serious. For example, we did a demo for a security company that had to deliver a message saying, hey, there's civil unrest like 2 miles away. Are you safe?
Yeah.
And it adopted a very serious tone. We didn't necessarily have to tell the model that it was serious. It just understood what was happening. if you whisper to the model, it's going to whisper back.
Yeah.
If you're really excited about something, it'll match your excitement.
Wow.
If it's doing sales, it'll have more of an upbeat tone. If it's a serious conversation, it will be lower. If the user is speaking at a certain cadence, it'll match the cadence as well. So speed, emotion, tone, that's all built into Novasonic. And honestly, it adds that human-like experience.
Yeah, I think we call that mirroring, right? Is just mirroring kind of the customer's tone, their sentiment, that sort of thing. It's funny. I had a customer, we're doing a Connect implementation for them right now, and they're based out of Massachusetts. And all of these town names that they've got in Massachusetts are pronounced differently. And they actually sent us a list of each of those town names and the actual phonetic pronunciation for each of those. So we had the Connect team go out and actually implement the tool based on how to pronounce each of those towns.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because adding on to that, some of our prompting techniques when we're implementing systems like this is if AI doesn't understand what a user said, it'll actually repeat it using the phonetic alphabet to make sure that it's spelled correctly, just like a human agent would do. And that's really important. But I love that example of being able to pronounce the more exact.
I can't even do it.
I can't either. I wish I could do the Boston accent, because here I would insert a joke about putting gas in your car, but I won't even try that.
So talk to me about the role that being an AWS Premier Tier partner like Zeb is kind of played in terms of the development of this solution.
Yeah, I mean, being a Premier Tier partner is something that we're very proud of. It means that we've reached the highest level of validation within the AWS ecosystem. It's opened up relationships for us in terms of being able to interface directly with the Connect team, with the Sonic teams. That said, like, this is an integration that was born here at Zeb. I'm very proud of our team. It took 3.5 months to create this actual integration. The support that we got from the respective teams at AWS were more like prompting tips for Novasonic, how to best integrate with MCP, things of that nature. But the integration itself was something that was homegrown. And we've worked closely with the Connect team to see what kind of use cases they'd like to see, as well as the field selling team. So that's been great. We've had great support from AWS. But really, the credit for this one goes to our Amazon Connect practice, our application development practice, and our AI practice. They're the real heroes behind this.
Yeah, I know they're working incredibly hard to kind of get these solutions together. But talk to us a little bit about what it means to be the first to market, to actually have the true Sonic and Connect integration.
Yeah, I mean, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So we get to set the standards as to how certain things like this are developed and deployed. And we want to make sure that we are promoting technology for what it is. Mm-hmm. And we're not just selling something new, something shiny. You hear me preach all the time on business value. Whatever we implement has to have business value to deliver a real ROI back to an organization. And being first to market is something that we're very proud of, but it's also something we take very seriously. We want to make sure that we are actually listening to our customers and listening to user feedback and just continuing to iterate to make this a better solution.
How closely did you have to work with the AWS product teams in order to get this to market?
To get it to market, we're working very closely with the AWS product teams.
What about bringing it to life?
Yeah, bringing it to life, we got some advice, but mostly that was a Zeb innovation.
Okay.
But bringing it to market is something that we're working with AWS very closely on.
Okay, cool. Where do you see this technology going over the next, let's say, 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the integration itself between Connect and Sonic, that I think that's just a pipeline mechanism, right? That's mostly stable. I think where you'll see the integration really succeed and transform is the innovations that are coming for Novasonic. Mm-hmm. I don't yet have insight into it, but I know Amazon. I've worked at Amazon. I've seen the Amazon ecosystem for over 15 years now. Sounding like a dinosaur, but they always release early and iterate often.
Yep.
So I would anticipate we will see more evolution in Sonic's capabilities, perhaps additional languages, perhaps more refined support for certain use cases. We've seen it already with Nova in general. The Nova models are continuously getting better. I expect the same thing for Novasonic. If I had to venture a guess as to other areas that I see developing, the integration that we have is not limited to being able to use Novasonic due to our approach. So we can call out to other models that support APIs. We can bring our own models to Amazon SageMaker. So as the open source community picks up as well, you can run models like CSM1B on Amazon SageMaker, and we could interface with that as well, which is just another voice-to-voice model. So as innovations happen elsewhere, even outside of AWS, we can bring those to the contact center with our integration as well.
Cool. Talk to me a little bit about, and this has actually come up on customer calls.
Yep.
There's inbound capabilities, but about looking to the future, do you see outbound capabilities coming?
Oh, absolutely. Inbound calling, outbound calling, it's all supported today.
Yeah.
So if, for example, it is your use case for scheduling an energy assessment.
Yep.
If a user goes to a website and clicks, yes, I'm interested, you can actually call that user. It can be an outbound call purely. That capability is there today.
Wow. Love that. And I'll make sure I mention that when we're on calls with customers next time. What's next for Zeb in terms of the AI voice space?
Yeah, I mean, we're just looking to listen to our customers' feedback, to continue to refine our approach with Novasonic, build in feedback mechanisms as to what's going well, what's not going well. We will continue to iterate on this as well. Being first to market's not our end goal. We want to be the trusted advisors in this space, and we take that position very seriously.
Totally agree with that point. And I think we're seeing a lot of folks, particularly at AWS as well, seeing us as kind of trusted advisors from Connect.
Absolutely. And introducing AI through Amazon Connect into an organization builds trust, and it actually opens up other AI use cases that aren't necessarily related to the contact center, adjacent use cases.
Yeah. Now, for those customers that are still relying on traditional IVRs or older virtual agents, what would you say to those folks?
I would say that now is the time to be looking at taking that next step with your contact center. Most times when we talk to customers, we ask, how are you talking to your clients?
Yeah. Right.
And when contact centers seem to be that thorn in everyone's side, where like it's a necessary evil. Nobody's really happy with the solution that they have today. And the traditional IVR approach is somewhat outdated compared to the capability of technology today, where we're moving more to IVAs now, interactive virtual agents, instead of IVRs. And that's where the real transformation is coming into play. I'm going to date myself with this analogy, but this is like moving from bare metal servers in a data center up to virtual machines in cloud or containers, right? It's that next evolutionary step, but applied to the contact center.
Yeah, totally agree with that piece as well. How do you see someone getting started, right? There's a lot of information that we've kind of given to folks today. How do you get started with Sonic and Connect?
Yeah, I think it starts with reaching out to folks like you.
Yeah.
We here at Zeb, we're always willing to take your call. Reach out to us. We've got an awesome sales team, coast to coast in North America. So we're very proud of that. But yeah, just start the conversation. Think about what you have today and what you would like it to be. Don't be afraid to think big. We work backwards from that, and we want to showcase the power through a proof of concepts and get you into production.
Yeah, don't make me blush. Anything else you want to share about the milestone launch?
No, just reiterating, we're so proud of the team for the work that they've done. We're excited to bring this technology to all of you and really see how we can transform this space.
Yeah, excellent. I appreciate your time today, Tim. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jen.
No problem.